supporting the DFL ticket, Jim Tureen and Bennett Smith, two great, outstanding candidates we have for the State Senate and State House. And I'm doing what I can to help them, or if it helps them for me to be against them, I'll do that, whatever it takes to help them get elected. But they've been working very hard, doing the, I was in the legislature for 10 years, and, you know, door to door, it's a lot of grinding work, but that's what you have to do, and they're doing the work. Some of you probably don't know me. I live in Detroit Lakes. I've been there since I was in college, got out of college, and the district runs all the way from Canada down to Marshall and Redwood Falls and all the way to New Ulm, just about, and it's a big area. As I said, we redistricted in 2002, and this area was added into my district. Before that, I used to have St. Cloud area and up north. As Jim said, I'm chairman of the House Agriculture Committee. One of our primary responsibilities is the Farm Bill, taking care of agriculture in whatever respect we're going to do that. So people, when they talk about the Farm Bill, think that it's subsidies for farmers or the things that directly affect farmers. What they don't understand is that only 7% of the money in the Farm Bill goes to farmers. 93% goes to people that are not farmers. Over 80% of the Farm Bill is food stamps, which is now called the SNAP program, the nutrition feeding programs. We also have a big component of it that's conservation. That's getting bigger every time. And then this last time, for the first time, I put energy, development of our next generation biofuels, production and agriculture into the Farm Bill for the first time. Also, when I became chairman, I created a subcommittee focusing on organic food and on local foods, and I caught a lot of flack from some of the traditional agriculture people. But, you know, the truth is, we got more and more people in this world every day. We're having a hard time feeding them, and we need farmers, whatever kind of farmers they are, if they're commercial farmers, organic farmers, whatever they are, we need them, and there's plenty of room for everybody, and I think we've been able to show that. But I've seen a lot of young people, new people come into agriculture in my district by going into these niche markets, you know, for local foods and for organic. It's been very successful. They're doing very well. They don't have to have as big operations. They don't have to have as much equipment, but they can make a living, and it's something that people want, and that's what we're trying to do, is support whatever kind of agriculture people want to do. But something else you probably don't know about is that my committee has jurisdiction over the futures market and all of the derivatives that got us into this financial problem. Back in the 70s, we created in our committee the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, which regulates all these Wall Street guys that are dealing in these credit default swaps and all these other things that they're doing. Back in 2000, when the Republicans were in charge, a guy named Phil Graham, who you probably have never heard of, but he was a senator from Texas, and he convinced people that we needed to deregulate Wall Street, and we needed to give these derivatives legal certainty, and he convinced people that these are a bunch of rich people. You had to have $10 million to get into this market. And so he convinced people that these are a bunch of rich people, and they're gambling their own money, and so it doesn't make any difference. You know, if they want to gamble their money and lose it, it doesn't bother you and I. Well, what happened is, at the time, there was $50 billion in that market. By 2008, there was $650 trillion in that over-the-counter market, and nobody knew what was in there. Nobody knew who was on which side. Nobody knew how much risk there was. And what happened was they hadn't put any money behind a lot of this stuff, and the economy went down, and the whole thing just about came apart. So for the last 3 years, my committee and myself have been working to re-regulate Wall Street. And we finally got a bill passed in July of this last year, and Obama signed it. I think it was July 13th or something like that. I had to work with Barney Frank, who's the chairman of the banking committee, and the two of us put this bill together. And what it's going to do, it's going to require that when these Wall Street guys get into these derivative contracts, they're going to have to put up margins and collateral. And in some cases, we're not even going to let them do some of these transactions because we think they're too risky and they're really not appropriate. Now, Wall Street didn't like this, but you know, I've spent quite a bit of time looking into this, and I figured out what they were up to. And what they were up to was no good, you know. And frankly, these people, instead of getting bonuses, should be in jail. A lot of them. So this bill is going to make sure that they can't do this in the future. And that was a lot of what I did for the last couple of years. And I've got a big responsibility now to make sure the regulations get put in place and then to do the oversight so that this never happens again. So we need to stay more on top of this and make sure that these guys are not, because you know, they hire a lot of smart people on Wall Street. They pay them a lot of money, and it's hard for us to stay ahead of them. You know, we can put a regulation in, tomorrow they'll create something else, get ahead of us. So we got to pay attention and try to stay on top of it. The other thing that I've been working on in the last few months is opening up travel and trade with Cuba. Cuba used to be a big agricultural market for us. We used to sell 90% of the agricultural goods that Cuba consumed came from the United States. In 2004, George Bush, because he was worried about winning Florida, because he almost lost the president, you know, he did lose the president in 2000. Anyway, he put in some regulations because the Miami Cubans wanted this, that said that we could not sell things to Cuba unless they paid us in cash before it left the United States. And they could not pay us in U.S. money. They had to pay us they had to send money to Europe and then send it back to the U.S. and then it had to go to the port and be paid before the boat could leave. And what happened was we lost 70% of the sales that we used to make to Cuba because of these changes. So I've got a bill to undo that stuff that Bush put in place. And then it does one other thing. You know, we've had this embargo on Cuba for 50 years. It has not worked. It is not going to work. If I had money, we'd get rid of it altogether. But they've been trying to pass a bill for the last 20, 30 years, and they finally came to me and said, we can't get this through the Foreign Affairs Committee. You know, we can't get anything going. We think maybe you can get this done. You know, if you can get the Farm Bill passed, you can get this done. So I introduced a bill to allow unlimited travel to Cuba and to take these trade restrictions away. And I did get it passed through my committee, 25 to 20. It's the first time in 50 years that anything was passed to relax things to Cuba. Now it's stuck in the Foreign Affairs Committee again. There was a markup that was supposed to happen a couple of weeks ago. They postponed it. But I'm hoping that they're going to get this done when the lame duck session. If this thing gets on the floor, it will pass. And the best thing we can do in Cuba is to send 10 cruise ships a week to Cuba with American people going out and